nobody had those views of me. They viewed me no differently once I made that shift of, okay, I'm no longer comfortable being uncomfortable in the spring and the summer, overheating, sweating, and the only person that's affecting is me. There's no way that you can get rid of self-doubt completely, because I think we need we need risk, we need anxiety, otherwise we wouldn't do anything. So I know that people would like to get rid of negative self-talk that they've got and just input self. It doesn't work so easy as that, because literally you're painting over the cracks. This self-doubt is only a little voice, but if I give it attention and focus, it's only going to get bigger. So if I can quiet that little, we could call it a devil on the shoulder, and I go, yeah, Tom and Jerry is what I want you to imagine. That you flick that dude off.
When we think of the word ability, we think in terms of the potential of a person in doing something and with a high chance that they might be successful in achieving that outcome. But when we think of the word a capability, we think of the potential of the person to do something, though they might not be able to successfully achieve it. Now, how many times in our lives do we mistake our capability to do something with our ability to accomplish it? For me, that happens more often than I care to admit. The truth is, our ability and capability to accomplish anything in life is limited by our own BS, our belief system. Well, today, my guest shatters any limiting belief we may have as he shares his story as a two-time Paralympian. But in the meantime, if you're interested in raising your standards as a father, a husband, and an entrepreneur, then I encourage you to participate in our Band of Brothers group mentorship program. We're a group of ordinary guys working towards living extraordinary lives. You can find all this information at the Awakened Man Training Academy at members.theawakenedman.net. And with that, let's get on with today's episode.
The average man today is sleepwalking through life, many never reaching their true potential, let alone ever crossing the finish line to living a purposeful life. Yet the hunger still exists, albeit buried amidst his cluttered mind, misguided beliefs, and values that no longer serve him. It's time to align yourself for greatness. It's time to become a revolutionary man. Stay strong, my brother.
Welcome, everyone, to the Revolutionary Man podcast. I'm the founder of the Awakened Man movement and your host, Alan DeMonso. So before we get started, allow me to ask you a couple of questions. How capable are you of achieving your goals and dreams? Regardless of that answer, what you can do today, what can you do today to actually move yourself towards it? We spend, or I should say, I spent far too much time challenging my capabilities and being able to do something, when the truth is, no matter what we are doing, ultimately we get better every day, even if it's only by fluke, as long as we stick to it. The question is, what are the limiting beliefs that are holding us back from living the highest level of our lives? Well, I guess today is going to talk about what it takes to develop an elite level mindset. So allow me to introduce my guest. James Owen Roberts is the founder and CEO of James Owen Roberts Coaching, a performance and success coach, and the creator of the AIM system, the host of the Mindset Athlete podcast, a TEDx speaker and author with over 15 years of experience in exercise, diet, mindset, and as a coach. As I said earlier, he's a two-time Paralympian athlete, an alum to both Swansea University and the University of Chester. Welcome to the show, James. How are things today?
I'm very well. Thank you for the introduction, Alan.
Well, I'm really looking forward to our conversation today, because you do have such an interesting and life-changing life story. And so we always talk about in my work here that we're all on our own hero's journey or a hero's quest. And so tell me about a time in your life when you felt most challenged and you knew things had to change. What did you do, and how did that experience shape you into who you are today?
I think when you phrase it that way, Alan, I think the challenge that springs to mind is coming to terms with the disability. I think I was like 15 or 16 years old, and I'm actually wearing a t-shirt, the t-shirt where I graduated high school, Shape American High School. That's a Department of Defense school in Belgium, and it was for me. I was comfortable in the sporting arena, so PE, swimming at that time, and this still baffles me, even though I'm 36 years old, just 20 years later, that I felt uncomfortable in the widest sense of the school. So I wouldn't feel comfortable wearing shorts in the classroom. So obviously being a Brit, they have to wear a school uniform, be it you're only going to have to wear a school uniform, maybe go to a prep school in North America. So for me, it was almost, it probably baffles me to this day that I had this difficulty of being myself, and it was almost being inside my own, well, literally I was having beliefs and things going on inside my head, and retrospectively presenting them outwards to what other people, and nobody had those views of me. They viewed me no differently once I made that shift of, okay, I'm no longer comfortable being uncomfortable in the spring and the summer, overheating, sweating, and the only person that's affecting is me. And other podcast hosts have been very surprised by that kind of mindset, because it's like, oh, that must be very difficult as a teenager. But for me, it was like it was literally an epiphany moment, and it's something that was so quickly fixed that, okay, it's changing an item of clothing. For me, obviously, it's very minuscule, but maybe for somebody else, that adversity to be very comfortable in their own skin may be more difficult. So I think because I had sport to lean on, and I was almost like two different people, it was almost leaning into that as, okay, if people don't like me for me, at the end of the day, it doesn't matter.
Yeah, absolutely. And what a great way to start. And I really like how you're touching on how we can shift our perspective of who we see ourselves as, and not focusing on what other people think. And I just think about, even as I got started to do this podcast a couple of years back, and all of the limiting beliefs and the challenge I felt that, oh, well, am I going to be good enough? And all this negative self-talk that we will have as people. And when we're starting a new endeavor, and yet at 15, we're already starting to recognize that it was really being mindful of that self-talk. So let's discuss that a little bit and talk a little bit about how that helped shift the way you were thinking.
I think I got to thank my family for that, because I think both sides of my family are very stubborn. So I think that helps to be able to challenge some of those negative beliefs and those negative self-talk that might come up. And obviously now being a coach, I remind my clients, I remind people that I speak to pretty much daily, that there is no way that you can completely get rid of self-doubt, or not self-doubt. There's no way that you can get rid of self-doubt completely, because I think we need we need risk, we need anxiety, otherwise we wouldn't do anything. So I know that people would like to get rid of negative self-talk that they've got and just input self. It doesn't work so easy as that, because literally you're painting over the cracks. Whereas if you're willing to lean into what is difficult, so the adversity, I think the term, like the black wolf and things like that, if you're willing to face that thing, it makes you stronger as an individual, because you've been able to overcome something that, I'm fortunate, I get praised for almost, say, at least once a week on posts that I'll put on social media. But that's because I'm comfortable with that vulnerability to kind of go, okay, I'm going to showcase you what is a weakness, to showcase rapport, so you can kind of see that I'm not this robotic figure that I think people perceived athletes as back in the day, that it's almost like, oh, they show up, they don't have any flaws. And you're seeing more and more athletes coming out with, obviously, say they've had difficulties with their mental health, they're struggling due to the pressures that they're putting under. And with obviously the world that we live in nowadays, I think it's maybe, even because I've been retired 10 years, so Instagram didn't exist, Facebook was in its infancy, Twitter was maybe not as toxic as it has become, TikTok was probably maybe an idea, and the only thing probably was YouTube. So I didn't probably have to face some of the pressures that the present day athlete has to do, because I think because of my upbringing to do with with my parents being in the military, my actions obviously speak for what for their job. So if I do something wrong, they're gonna have to face the consequence. So I probably, along my illustrious career, I probably thought, well, if I put that out, what's the backlash that I'm gonna get? So some people don't have filters and they kind of go. I had a teammate that put something out and he got in trouble. It's like, did you not think twice as what would be the comeback on it? Whereas that's maybe some of the things that would hurt me later on in life, because you second guess yourself and you have that element of doubt that you were talking about. Am I going to be good enough? Is this show going to be listened to? Blah 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 blah.
Yeah.
And ultimately, it doesn't matter, because I think you and I probably I'm gonna give some people some perspective. Once you get past episode 8, you're in a very selective group. I think like 5% of podcasts reach beyond that point, which is quite scary to think that you're not gonna have the level of success that you think in the earlier, because people don't know you. You've got to obviously scramble for that attention. I don't know how many podcasts there are now. I think there's probably millions. So you are fighting for people's attention. But if you're talking about on a topic that's relatively niche, you're going to be found because, you're focusing on, but this, obviously mental health with males. Okay, there's not as much out there. Okay. And then you, as the person that's the host, it's going to be a relation built with the audience, because I like Alan because he's got morals, ethics that I can align myself with. So it's not necessarily looking at that. And I think for me, I think even the early days of my show, I've been going what is now, I believe, 7 years.
Right on.
That as long as you have that consistency, and you show up, people are going to tune in. Did I think to the level that I've got to now in podcast? No chance, because I didn't like public speaking. I'm going to be honest with you in the audience. As a teenager, I was introduced to Toastmasters. I went, no chance, I'm not doing that. And I was a bit curious. I was like, and I was chatting to one of my guests a couple of months ago, and he talked about Toastmasters. I think, is that still going 20 years later? And obviously, unbeknownst to me, yes, it is. So I've looked into that. I've not gone to one yet, but if I would had maybe the foresight and the confidence that I exude maybe nowadays to kind of grasp every opportunity with both hands, it'd be quite scary to see where I would be nowadays if I'd have done that 20 years ago.
No, I hear what you mean. Especially with I did Toastmasters several years ago, and it was a great learning experience. And I think for anyone to help put you in a place to get your thoughts in order somewhat, and it's a great training ground program. But I want to go back to, I really like the point that you made about there's just no way that we're going to get rid of negative self-talk, and I think that's so important that for men especially, we tend to be so judgmental about who we are and our place in life and where we're showing, how we're supposed to show up. And if we can just recognize that it's not so much about eliminating the self-talk and the negative self-talk that is, but it's about being able to transition it, or change the idea or the meaning behind it. There's a Canadian psychologist here, Jordan Peterson, always talks about going to your dragon, right? And you're going to wait for that dragon to come to see you. And I always interpret that by meaning I'm not going to deal with this negative self-talk, or I'm not going to deal with the scary stuff in my life. And so if I don't deal with it or don't look at it, well, maybe it'll be okay. But ultimately it becomes crippling and we can't move forward. And I think that's what I really was inspired about reading your story, and about if we were to have, if two of us were to have an excuse for not to get something done, and not that you would use it, you could have a pretty good excuse because of the challenges you faced, but you didn't allow negative self-talk and a negative attitude to change your life. Like you work at it with elite level, as an elite level mindset coach. And so I think it's really important that we remember that. And And the other piece you said, you talked about being comfortable, being vulnerable. And I think that's another big thing for men today. And it's one of the big reasons why I'm doing this work, this men's work and this podcast, is to showcase to men that all of us have vulnerabilities somewhere in our lives. And it's about raising the standards that we show up and being able to deal with the things that make us afraid, that are keeping us in a fearful space. And that's why I love spending time with guests like you on the show.
I think, and I'll add to that, Alan, I think it's for me, it's almost like role reversal. And I explain why. Because I was brought up more by my mother's side of the family, so very matriarchal environment. So I was very in tune with my feelings up until I probably hit puberty. And then once I went into sport teaches you to turn up with a suit of armor. I can't show flaws. I can't show any weakness. I can't show any, I almost said remorse. No, don't show any ounce of thing that can be capitalized by the opponent. To now, I'm almost having to take that suit of armor off. Well, not gradually, but I've done it bit by bit to kind of go, okay, this isn't serving me. Why, in some occasion, when people share stuff that's very emotional, I'm almost like a brick wall. It's like as if there's no emotion there whatsoever. You're thinking, oh, this behavior can't be normal. But then when I shared with my peers, this is about 18 months ago, 2 years ago, about my relationship with my grandmother when I lost her, I was in tears. I was like, okay, I've got the ability to shed a tear when it relates to me, and maybe that's just my personality and my character to not be into that I can't think what they're called, ENFP and things like that. I'm maybe not that sort of psychological character trait that shows emotion in a way that is that, and because I've spent literally half of my life in sport, it's probably going to take at least that amount of time, if maybe some more, to kind of go, okay, is some of that stuff you don't want to lean into because you're scared? Is it because you don't want to do it because you lack trust in somebody else taking advantage of that? Obviously, it's very complex, but I'm willing to be open to the idea to talk about it with other coaches, to let me have an understanding, to kind of go, okay, I'm not the only one that's having this I don't want to call it an issue, having this way that they feel. Because I'm fortunate to know another coach, and he's built like a house, like 6'6", broad shoulders, and literally he's the softest, kindest person you'd meet. And literally that's the perception you'd have if you didn't know him, to kind of go, this guy's hard as nails.
Yeah.
To literally, he's got some of those issues of self-doubt, as am I worthy? Am I good enough? You're thinking, dude, you're the epitome of dominance. People look up to you. People will be scared of, obviously, you wanted to turn nasty. What is it that you've got to be scared of? So it's nice to see that. Well, I shouldn't say it's nice. It's humbling to see that when other males are willing to be open about this thing, we're not alone in our belief of thinking that we're literally tunnel vision. It only affects me, and to see somebody that's in a similar position, it was nice, because you could obviously literally give back. Dude, I see you like this. You're somebody to lean on. You are, would say, the epitome of what a male cover figure on magazine is, in terms of, you need to have some of that confidence in yourself to kind of go, well, I've had, it's not been released, but I've had him on my show. He shared his story. And people obviously respect me. see people on equal measures. Like what you're doing to be willing to go into that vulnerability space for somebody that's maybe perceived as, oh, they wouldn't have any flaws. It is quite heartfelt, because it's like, dude, I see you as an amazing figure, that he's made it his mission that he wants to help males just like yourself with coaching, to work them through some of these pressures and stereotypes that males have obviously faced for generations, because you need to be strong, you mustn't cry, you must have this, we'll use the British stereotype, stiff of a lip, you need to mask your feelings. It's like, well, if you do that, you're a ticking time bomb for some people. Some people will be okay, but it's literally a ticking time bomb waiting to go off. I unfortunately had that happen to me, because I was literally, when I retired from sport, I was like, my life is over. I've got no purpose anymore. I've got no drive. I spent 2 years unemployed. That didn't help. To eventually, by the end of that, I was having issues with anxiety, but it was affecting other people. So that for me was kind of the final straw. I might be comfortable but sitting in my own filth, but I'm bringing down other people's mental health. This has got to stop. So for me, obviously, kind of, okay, well, just laying around and being, I don't want to really say a bum, because that's not fair, because some people that are homeless, it's not their fault, but as in almost having this position of, oh, poor me.
Yeah.
And I going into that victim status. And when I saw it affecting my mother, I was like, no, this is unacceptable. Something's got to change. So my mom had been on for me for years. Oh, you need to go into coaching. You need to go into coaching. At the time, I wasn't ready.
Right.
And then I literally, recently did a talk at Chester University's business school. And I went, that's probably the riskiest thing I've ever done, but I don't regret it for 1 minute, because I literally threw caution to the wind. Yeah, let's do this. Let's see this, where this take me. And obviously the early days as being a personal trainer weren't easy, because I had to literally shed a skin, because it's like, well, yes, you're shy. Yes, you're an introvert. Yes, you are, I won't call it recluse, but close. But in order for you to succeed, you're going to have to step outside your comfort zone and speak to people you don't know. And literally, for me, that was self-talk, as in, hey, I know this is going to be hard. I know this is going to be difficult. Yes, you're going to probably face no's. But in order to obviously get those no's, you're going to have to speak to people. And obviously, we fast forward now almost 10 years later. I have to remind myself from time to time as, hey, don't take the no's personally. Just keep going. The faster you get to the no, through the no's, the quicker you're going to get to a yes. And I saw that on social media, and I went, oh, that's amazing. Because literally your train of thought would change straight away of, okay, I'm getting all these no's, negative. If I can get through all these no's as quickly as possible, hey, that's exciting. Hey, no. You need to go through the process, because otherwise you could, there could potentially be a yes, and then you're just going through the flow. But for me, that was like, oh, that's common sense, but people don't do it. But as soon as you get in your own head, okay, I'm getting no, so it must be something to do with me, nothing to do with role reversals. And obviously to that undergrad, that from a business perspective, to the no's, it's the other person saying no to their goal, which is a little bit, it pulls at my heartstring, because like, well, that's, if they were aware to that, would they make that decision? It'd probably on a ledge, as in, do I want to do this? Do I not want to do it? You go back and forth. Some people might be accepting of the no and kind of go, well, I'm not ready now. Okay, that's fine. But I have to remind myself more than I probably would like to kind of go, okay, this self-doubt is only a little voice, but if I give it attention and focus, it's only going to get bigger. So if I can quiet that little, we could call it a devil on the shoulder, kind of go, yeah. Tom and Jerry is what I want you to imagine. Literally flick that dude off. I was very good at that in my early day of my career. A negative thought would transpire and come in. Is that helpful? Is that going to actually make me keep going to what I want to? No, I literally kind of go bang straight back out.
Yeah.
So it's trying to tap in both into my younger self as, okay, if I've got something wrong, tell somebody, because if I can put out the fire when it's little versus a dumpster fire, it's going to be a little bit less, cause a little bit less damage. And then from the mental perspective towards self-doubt, it's going to take some time because I'm in a different arena. I'm in a different thing that sport I did since the age of probably 7 years old till I retired at 20. So I've got loads of experience, and that culture is they're all going mostly in the same direction. But now I'm obviously in a business space. I think I was a bit of a wise ass in the beginning. I did it. I believe, because I believe this when I retired, I did it myself, which is far from the truth. I'll admit that to you, Alan. Now that belief in itself probably derailed a lot of what I was able to accomplish, because it's like, well, there's loads of people along that journey that rewrote the ship for you subconsciously, be it if it was something not quite right going on in the career. Speak to my family. It's not fair to them because there's nothing they can do about it. But for me to offload the problem and to talk about it, let's go back to work now. The problem has been somewhat dealt with. I probably should have dealt with it myself, because it can be a lot more adversity to overcome, and kind of go, well, okay, this is your problem, James. What are you going to pick to resolve that?
Yeah, 100%, right. And what you're really talking about is just the maturation process that you went through, and I think we all do that in any endeavor that we decide to embark on, and it's great that you have the recognition today that one of the things I say is that life is a do-it-yourself project. That doesn't mean do it by yourself. It means do it for yourself, and because it is our work to do. But we also need the support of people, to give us that community to help move us forward. And then the other thing I wanted to touch on is I really liked the story you talked about your friend there, and made me think about how easy it is that we can judge ourselves based on what other people may only see us of a slim part of our wholeness, right? And so he's a large man, right? He obviously sounds like he's physically fit, and so seems like could be a very imposing. I've got this picture, right? This imposing figure. And how many times has that probably been said to him? And so how that happens in our own lives, where somebody says, "Oh, you're really good at this," and then we think that that's all. We tend to fall into that narrow path, as you were talking about. That's all that we are, but we're so much more.
I think what helped for me, Alan, is I met him first on this. So everybody's literally just, depending on where the camera is, pretty much everybody's probably. And then when I met him in person for the first time, I was like, oh gosh, you are this man mountain. But I got to know the personality first. So it's like, okay, you're this quote unquote gentle giant.
Well, and that's just it, right? The point is that there's so much more to who we are than just the one aspect that people will tend to focus on. And that's why I kind of have a love-hate relationship with social media. I know that it needs, as being in the business space, you have to be on social media. You need to put content out and push stuff out. But on the other side of that coin is that when I'm looking at social media and how it's being portrayed, is that it's such a small sliver of what somebody is. Yet we make decisions on who that person is based on a few series of videos that they're putting on, and we really don't know what their true story is. And so that kind of leads me to, you were talking a lot about sport and your time in sport, and one of the things I was reading about you is that you had this really interesting difference between competition and comparison. I just wanted to know if you could talk a little bit about that.
I love talking about that, Alan, because what you mentioned, obviously the love-hate relationship with social media, people, I think, misconstrue competition. So when I came out of sport, competition is bad. Competition is bad. No. Comparison is bad, because ultimately, if you're looking to what you haven't got, it's going to alter your mental. Oh, I haven't got this. I haven't got this. Oh, I'm not doing as well successfully relative to somebody else. That's comparison when it's not helpful. Whereas if it was competition and more collaborative, so if you're getting support from other people, you can utilize competition to kind of go, okay, this person wants to do this, and this. Why can't I do that as well? And you plot your own journey relative to that, and then and my coach is obviously he put a poll out to all his clients of what would you guys like to do collaboratively. So it was reviewing content, so video, written post, blah blah blah, by your peers. So literally they would pull it apart for you and kind of go, okay, this is good, this could be improved, maybe get rid of this. That's helpful because it's positive criticism, and you want it. And then I can't remember what the other one was, but to see that, well, I was the first to respond. Literally followed after me. Oh, I want number 2 as well. So he could see a trend to kind of go, okay, that's what you guys want to do more about the content, because it will give another perspective that you might have not seen, to kind of give another set of eyes to almost maybe bring into line. Well, what are you trying to get? What's the point you're trying to make? Is it overcoming blah blah blah, and then obviously a call to action? Are you trying to trigger people? Blah, blah, blah. Can you make it more potent? And I think this is obviously lost when you bring it into the mass populace, because I'm going to use Instagram because I used to work in fitness a lot. It doesn't give very much help towards people's mental health, because it's almost a mask or an act that the person is almost operating 365 days as like perfect. It's like, well, okay, let's be real. You and I are obviously be able to see through that, because it's like, well, what are you uncomfortable with not sharing? That you maybe not, that which is fair enough, which you maybe not work through, which you wouldn't do that. You wouldn't air your dirty laundry if you haven't been able to get over it yourself. But then for, say, people that are potentially lost on their journey to do with, they want to lose weight, they want to gain more confidence, that's not helpful, because ultimately it's going to detract from any belief or faith that they've got in their confidence is going to go down the toilet, because it's like, okay, this dude is or what you will say, man, because obviously it's a male podcast, is showing off his abs. He's in good shape. He mustn't have any flaws. But the amount of men that probably have got major insecurities that they're unwilling to share is probably huge, because like, well, I get praised pretty much weekly, like I said earlier on, for vulnerability, but I've worked through those things to kind of go, okay, because in my early days as a coach, people were like, oh, I can't reach to your level, James, because you're on this pedestal that I hadn't created. It's like, because people were like, oh, you've done all this and this in sport. Somebody put post on, not post, put a reply to one of my posts yesterday for a podcast I appeared on last year, and I reshared it this week. When it was all well and good for you, you had all this opportunity, and I was talking about it on a podcast yesterday. He went, well, that's you seizing the moment. So I did share that, hey, with every opportunity, and this isn't my word, so I'm going to give Gary Vee and Matt Higgins kudos for it, is every opportunity has a cost.
Yes.
So for me to be in those opportune moments that I was able to kind of go up, climb the ladder, the offset of that is at later life in my 20s, I had to almost learn how to be have social skills
Yeah.
because I didn't have to utilize them as a teenager. It's like, okay, if you're not in this sporting bubble, I don't know how to communicate you. Girls were on the radar because it was a distraction. So that's something, the skill I had to get when I was older, which would cause no or alter pain. The amount of rejection I probably faced at the beginning because I don't know how to talk, I'd say the right things in the right, to now that people are like, oh, you're very confident over it's like, well, technically that's not difficult. I'm not in front of you. I don't view that as a conversation. It's literally a backward and forwards. Yes, if you're invested in it, it's going to become a but that's, for me, the online space is easier because I don't have to show if I'm uncomfortable. So I sat down with a previous client that I worked with from back in the days that I was working in the gym, and I went, literally, when I sat, because he's one of the first clients that I ever had. He said he was nervous. I said I was doubly nervous as well, because literally it's selling yourself, and is the person gonna take on board? Are they gonna willing to work on me based on probably tens of other objections that's in here? So for me, the online space has given me a lot more confidence, because if I can get you to here, I have some control, because this is my domain that I probably speak on more Zooms than, say, the customers. Some people don't like to come on here because, oh, I don't like the camera. You can turn your camera off, and we can do it old school and do like a telephone call. Obviously, I need to turn mine off as well, because otherwise it's very awkward. Because you can see me, you can see any mannerisms that I've got, and if I feel uncomfortable, you can pick that up. I can't see your reaction. And obviously that's a skill in itself, to be able to hear people's tonality. I haven't quite got there yet, but we're getting there slowly. So I think, coming back to original question, and I do apologize for going off on a bit of a tangent there. I've got a bad habit of doing that, so I'm going to meander and come back. I think the comparison can be helpful, but if you bolt on that competitive nature as well, but you don't become obsessive with being competitive with somebody else, as in you look at the ins and outs of what they've done to get the result. Okay, how do I deconstruct that so then I can do it, as opposed to being super obsessed and being, okay, well, they did it this way, I failed. So literally looking at I think what human beings do it, and it fascinates me, that aspect of why we focus on the negative so much, and almost be dismissive of the positive, even if it exists. That wouldn't be helpful. So it's almost utilizing the competitiveness that obviously athletes have got an advantage, because they've been conditioned to do it, to do that in every aspect of their life. But that's a skill that you can build to kind of go, okay, I can see Alan's done this, and this. What areas do I like about it? Maybe he could have improved it here, and here. To almost then that's your game plan. And then if it doesn't work, you've got something to go back to, kind of go, okay, well, why didn't these particular aspects not go to plan? Because what I didn't want to do when I spoke to those undergraduates was be dismissive of, university study, because it gives you critical thinking. But what they need to realize is you need to utilize that as well, to then be okay with failure as a learning tool. So that is probably the epitome of competition, because it's losing teaches you so much. Winning can paint over the cracks, because you could get away with things that you're doing badly, and because you're winning, we don't need to fix that. You lose in a game, you lose in life. You need to obviously kind of go, okay, well, we can't repeat this procedure. And obviously it's an Einstein quote: if you do something over and over again, It's the epitome of insanity. So it's utilizing all that I've said as not viewing failure as out and out failure, because ultimately out and out failure is quitting. But it's learning from those reps that you're getting in, and obviously as a result, the thing is going to get easier. Obviously, as you progress, the next level is going to still be difficult, but by tracking things, it gives you a good metric to kind of go, okay, I did this in, well, I'm going to use a video game analogy now. In level 1, I'm going to have to upskill that in level 2 because it's going to be a little bit more difficult. And then, depending on showing my age, Mario and things like that, it's going to be a boss at the end of it. That's going to be more difficult. And as you progress, the game, well, back in the day, most people probably didn't beat the game because the programmers made it that difficult that you shouldn't be able to beat it.
Yeah, absolutely, for sure. Love that. I love the definition there and how you're using comparison versus competition. I think that's so true. Let's pivot and move into your current work. So you started a program. It's called AIM. So tell us about what AIM stands for and what is its mission.
Its mission is to look at people's behaviors and the habits, but working backwards to kind of go, okay, if you're coming to me, Alan, as an example, and you want to lose, we'll say 30 pounds as an example, I'm gonna look at, let's look at why, because why is very important, I think, in every aspect of coaching. Why is it important for you to get your goal? I don't think most people look at that when they set out on a goal. So obviously, the undercurrent of the AIM system is built on my 3 pillars. So courage, strength, excellence. So literally epitome of me, that my coach gave me, because it's like, I can't go better than those 3 words. But you need courage to start on a goal. So you need to have faith that you're going to succeed. You need to have belief that everything is going to turn out well. That obviously creates strength, because you're going to have to overcome adversity, difficulties, challenges, however you want to call it. And obviously excellence for me is what I've done, but excellence for you or the customer or the client is their result. So if you can get excellence, and I think this is where people get a little bit skewed, they get hung up on, I need to be perfect. I need to do all these dominoes have to align before I do something. It's like, well, that's never going to happen. And I can't remember the guy's name is of TikTok. He went, the perfect time may come too late. And I went, wow, that's so true. That perfect moment might come to, you might have diabetes, you might get diabetes, you might have a heart attack, you might have a stroke. What you're then able to do, depending on how severe those are, will massively change, and it will alter the course of your life. So I know people are saying that, oh, I'm looking for the opportune time. I'm looking for all these things to, like, it's not going to happen. What you need is action. Literally, just pull the trigger. So my one of my old peers used to say, it's like chucking pasta against the wall. For coaches, chuck it against the wall, some of it will stick. Then you know where you. Whereas if you just, if you're looking at the plate, will this stuff stick? You literally looking at either at perfection, or you're procrastinating and this needs to be this is. What difference does it make? As a coach, the audience are going to tell you if it's crap. Oh, this is. Oh no, I don't like either. Literally, nah. Crickets, by no engagement whatsoever. That'll tell you that. No, okay, yeah. I thought it was a good idea, but I guess it's not. Or one of the coaches I know is a fellow Canadian for you, Dave Smith. He literally wanted to do. He was showcasing how you go from 0 to $1 million business, and he was building out a fitness one to do with his faith. He spent, I can't remember how many hours. I think it was like nearly 2-3 days, maybe even more than that. And he went, well, it's a concept, but I don't know if anybody wants it. So I literally parked it and kind of go, let me test something that I know, because he's moved into more so marketing type of things. If I was to show you Bob XYZ, and literally say I need to get 50 people in order to do that, there you go. Then you've got something to run with. But that was something he was passionate about as well, versus say something that, yeah, I would love to be within it, but I don't have anything to test it against. So I think this is, you can see side by side that even coaches will face the same problems as their clients. And they should maybe know a little bit better, because it's like you're telling your flock, do this, 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 and this in order for this not to happen. And then obviously, but it's nice to be reminded of, okay, James, you're telling that to your clients day in, day out. Why are you not being observant when you're doing the exact same thing? So literally, there's probably tens, if not hundreds of coaches, probably millions of people doing this exact thing as well. Why is it important for you to get to your result? Why is it important to your art? Because then when the motivation is waning, yeah, I remember telling Alan that's why I wanted to do X, Y, Z. So it's almost a sucker punch, really.
Yeah.
Because if it was, you wanted to run around with your son or daughter in the back garden, but you can't because you're out of breath. There's your why. Oh, Alan, I remember you said to me you wanted to not have that limiting factor be a problem in the future. Why are we not doing what we said we were going to do? So it's a nice kick in the nuts, but it's a reminder that kind of go, well, you said this is why this is important.
Yeah.
More so than losing weight, which some people will be able to be sufficient enough to get them from A to B. But because, maybe coming back to our point that we were talking about feelings, because some males are unwilling to go into their feelings, they're easy enough to go, oh, well, I'm going to base all my decisions based on logic, or I'm going to use, obviously, a lot of men that I've spoken to have been, I can't get them to go into emotion enough to then make a decision based on that. It's like, okay, I respect your decision logically, but emotionally it makes no sense. Because why are you unwilling to go into a space that we're going on maybe almost 5-10 years, that people have been a little bit more open to talking about their feelings, more open about when they're not okay, that why do you respond maybe defensively when I ask you, how does this make you feel? So I'm going to use an example of a conversation I've had recently, that the person almost sidestepped it and kind of went, well, my life isn't as bad as somebody else. So there's the comparison again.
Yeah.
He's drinking these many colas. He's got diabetes just like me. Yeah, but you're not happy with where you're at, so it doesn't matter. He might be content with where he's at. I don't know. I've not spoken to him, but he might be in a similar position that he's lost. That, okay, I'm going to drink cola, but I'm not aware that it's going to make my diabetes worse. Whereas if you're telling me your goal is to lose this, but we're still here and you don't like aspects of here, you need to own some of that, because it's like, you need to be willing to embrace. I'm not saying accept that feeling, but embrace that, hey, things are not okay with my life, and me to almost give myself a free pass by comparing myself to somebody else's life that's worse, to kind of go, in retrospect, oh, my life's not as bad as his. We'd have an obviously different conversation if you were okay with it, because, well, I wouldn't be sat in front of them. But I think some males don't go to those levels that are below surface level, because it's oh, but I've been brought up to not do that, to be almost that stubborn old man of, oh, I can't change. That's not true. That's a belief to think that you can't change. There's one thing to be unwilling to change, and there's one thing to be scared of changing. And you and I both know that in order for somebody to change, the fear of right now has to outweigh the fear of the future, and then somebody will change. Because I don't like where I'm at now. Yes, the tomorrow scares me, but if I don't get all my shit together, tomorrow is going to be bleak. So I like when people say, oh, but what, because I was asked this by one of the professors at the business school, what would you do with a stubborn person? It's like, it depends on the person. If they're unwilling to change, that's fine. James of yesteryear would have challenged that, because it's like, yeah, but I want to change you, but if I want it more than you, we've got a problem. So versus, say, somebody that is, that they've got that uncertainty, they're not quite sure, they're just looking around and all those things. We can talk about that, because it might be a case of, you need more information, you need whatever it is to come. Okay, what is the objection that you've got? There's not that many, but in terms of, and generally is a common theme that you and I will face. But let's talk over your reservations for why you feel that you cannot succeed, because that's what you're scared about. Is, oh, I failed x number of times. Is this going to be just this next one? So I think when it's the individual that is, that you are their last hope, I think they're more open to listening, because it's like, okay, James, I've tried every day. I've tried every type of training. I've tried. Mindset would obviously be a little bit more difficult, because I don't think you could try everything in when it comes to that, because you'd be very open to doing things, and some things would obviously work. But I think with those individuals, I think they're open, more so, because it's like, okay, I've stumbled upon Alan, I've stumbled across James. I like what they're saying. They've obviously said something that has got me thinking, can they maybe be my salvation? So that's interesting to kind of go. Whereas for me, that's been a learning curve, because I was still doing some of that, I think 2 years ago. Oh, I see a problem, but you're not aware of it, and just literally open that Pandora's box. The other person, like, yeah, shut that. I didn't know it existed, so can we close it now? And they'll get literally, like, I'm going to metaphorically defensive, because it's on the online space. But you can. It's only when I presented with it that person being backed into a corner. Can you not see that, James? Yeah, now I can. Yeah, maybe I should have listened to them when they said no the first time. But I've got better at that, to kind of go, okay, if it's a no now, do you want me to circle back with you and say a few weeks, a few months, and you'll tell me yes, no, maybe? Because if you're open to have a conversation. So say one person, the wife's she's currently pregnant. Can we look at it in a year? Yeah, that's completely acceptable, because it's a 9-10 month gestation, and life might be difficult with having a newborn in the beginning. So I don't have kids, but I can accept that, to kind of go. Others maybe, oh, I've got stuff on at the moment. Can we circle back in? I use my words very carefully, not say couple, say few. So give them maybe a little bit of breathing space to that. So, oh, James is backed away willingly. I'm going to respect that. Or say, I think your audience probably might have seen this, during the holidays. Some coaches go in full throttle, like in the run up to Christmas. Like, oh, do you want to buy this product in January? No, dude, I want to enjoy my Christmas holidays. And that will be the lasting impression you have if that person comes back around in January. Oh, that that dumbass messaged me before Christmas.
Yeah.
I interrupted my holidays with the family. Nah, I'm not gonna buy from them. Whereas I was literally told to do the opposite, as in, wish people Merry Christmas, Happy New Year, hope, and just literally ask how the holiday, and into January I was still getting replies back. Oh, Merry Christmas! I didn't see your message. Oh, that's fine. It's middle of January, but that's okay. That's okay. But I think more people are. I think they see through some of that marketing BS, and I think people be more wise as, oh, what is your motives behind saying hello, because people probably getting hundreds of messages a day from different businesses here. Like, so if you'd be maybe sincere, which is probably very difficult unless you did a video or did a voice note, to kind of go, oh, hey Alan, how you doing? How's your week? How's your week been? How's your weekend going?
Yeah.
I'm you'd be able to pick up on that tone. Oh, that's not sincere.
Yeah.
No, I won't reply to that. Whereas if the person's like curious, oh, I'm doing this, and oh, cool, that's nice. How long you been doing that, and so on. So yeah, so I've rambled a little bit on that one.
No, that's awesome. That's awesome. Yeah, there's so much there to unpack. I think to your point, I think there comes a point in time when when we're both in the coaching field, right? We're looking at mentoring people, and I think people are ready to change when they are finally fed up with something in their life, regardless of what that is. And I think when they get there, they're more open to hearing things, especially for men. And I really seeing that in this men's work. And I completely agree with your take on the holiday season. And this year, while we have a group monthly program, and we meet twice a month. And the second meeting would have been right in the middle of Christmas week. And so I'd made a conscious decision at the start of November, when we were getting into the November meeting, just to let everyone know, hey, I'm going to have we'll have the one meeting in December. You don't have to come if you don't want to. I can be recorded. And instead I'll have something else for you. And what we ended up by doing is we sent out a reflection exercise for them to do, to give them an opportunity to assess how the last year went for them. They've been involved with the program. What are things for them to consider, so they would have something to start with coming in January. And we just let it go, because I'm with you. I think the idea of trying to sell a program during the busy time, and I seen lots of it. Hey, get a massive discount if you book today, and I think it's a fine line. I think you lose a bit of integrity there if you're always chasing it.
Oh yeah, but I think the big businesses, they're not too fussed, because it's like we've got volume.
Yeah.
If we maybe piss off a few people, because one of the people I was speaking to, he works in IT support for Amazon. So you're thinking, well, Amazon is so big, how many packages go AWOL and things like that. So there's probably a percentage of unsatisfied customers. Sure. That they literally just, okay, it's gonna happen. One of I found this hilarious when it happened. Their what is it, AWS system, so their internet collapsed. I was like, wow, that's so funny in so many levels. But talking to him, he said all the warehouses just shut down. So I don't know why they didn't go old school and literally the people had to go from one end of the warehouse and do it manually. But that's obviously an over reliance on technology and an over reliance on, if I give discounts or I bombard people, I'm going to get the numbers. It's like, well, if you annoy too many people, that's going to spread like wildfire, because this is very good, isn't it? Word of mouth. Oh, no, this company is not good. Whereas obviously you can get the other end of it of, I had a message from somebody, oh, one of your clients had given me your praise. So I sent them a voice note personally to the client. It's like, oh, you didn't have to do that. I didn't even ask you to do that.
Yeah.
I hadn't got round to it yet, but as in, that's obviously something that they were with me long enough that they got some sort of result that they were endearing to kind of go, well, James is your guy.
Yeah.
So I when the person went, oh, it's a who though? Who? Because then I can actually I can personally thank them for going out their way to do me a massive favor. So, but that, I think that's where you're going to see differences in businesses with people that are willing to go the extra mile for their customers, for the so okay, money is wonderful, but I think it is a necessary evil. I don't view it as bad, but what is a lost art is those connections, those collaborative things that you're literally trying to uplift not every individual, but as in you're trying to help each other out where you can possible, because you don't know, and I don't mean necessarily you're doing it for, okay, I'm going to do you a favor, but in 6 months time to a year's time, I want you to repay me the favor. I'm just going to do it because it's the right thing to do right now. And if you repay me the favor in the future, okay, that's wonderful, but I don't expect that. So that's an old school value that I obviously believe in terms of, well, if you can, and I think you're indoctrinated with it a little bit of sport, because it's like, well, if I can spur the other person on to be better, it's almost, the organization gets better, the team gets better. If it's a team sport, the individuals get better because they're challenging each other on the daily, and that isn't necessarily, it can be counterproductive because ultimately you're being pitted against one another, like schooling, to kind of go, well, if it's left with the coach and you're literally like for like, they're going to try and find something that one person's better than the other. Whereas I think for the rest of society, there isn't almost this notion of collaboration in some cases. It's like, oh, it's dog eat dog, as in I need to outwork Alan to beat him and to progress. It's like, well, that's not helpful. That's where you're seeing men, especially, working long hours in the office. I need to do it for my family. It's like, yeah, well, the sacrifice is, but that is, you don't get to see your family. Your kids are going to bed when you're getting home, and then there's literally memes of these things on social media of, the wife berating the man, oh, you're never here. Like, whoa, you want me to be able to provide, I got to be here. So they can't win. Whereas I think it's that trade-off of, well, if you almost get to, like, I think this whatever I think it's Generation Z or whatever they're called now, where they won't tolerate working beyond their hours. Like, nah, if you want me to stay here later, you're gonna have to pay me more. And I think we need to take probably an ounce of that, and then probably a little bit ounce of, the grandparents' era of, hard work, and take both, and then mash it together, because you're going to get an individual that works hard but also smart, and not the saying of work smarter, not harder, because technically that's a bit lazy, because if you're going to work smarter, you're going to you're going to look for shortcuts, kind of go, well, where can I do less effort, get the same reward? But if you don't do the hard work, and literally I say this all the time, patience is a virtue, but because people operate in this societal mindset of, Amazon delivering the next day, or literally probably the same day in the US for sure, if not Canada as well, that people almost expect that in every aspect of their life. It's not going to work in health. You and I would definitely agree in mindset, definitely not, unless it's an easy fix. So you're doing yourself a disservice by thinking that way of, oh, if I want this goal to happen to quote unquote tomorrow, you're selling yourself short, and that's not going to happen. And that's a quick fix. That's a fad. You need to be in it for the long term too. I'm going to leave it on this one. I asked a question of those students: if you got to get work experience with Elon Musk or input any person of influence for a month and you were unpaid, how many would do it? Most of the room said no.
Wow.
So I went, I was a little bit shocked. I thought it would be 50-50. It wasn't. It was a unanimous no, but they're looking short term.
For sure.
Oh, because I'm not going to get paid. But I think the one that the dude was hanging on every word. I literally speaking to him at the end because like your eyes are like, so you're taking everything on board. I have to. I think he even asked the question at the end as well. That if you had an idea and you pitched it to Elon and he wanted to invest, he'll do it there on the spot. Okay, James, how much do you want? Can I get? So almost like Shark Tank or our version of Dragon Den. The person, if they like the idea, I don't like your proposal of 3%. I'll give you all the money for 10, 20, whatever the percentage is, but you'll get all of the money and all my experience. So it's scary to think that those are, not 18, 19-year-olds and they're still stuck in that kind of, well, what's in it for me? Whereas it's only because I saw it on social media, I was like, well, that's a good question. Would I do it if I didn't get paid? But that person, you, if you were to take that entrepreneurship role, you're a reflection of that business person. So they're going to still take care of you, because if you look very scruffy and things like that, okay, we need to take care of James. We need to get on because he's still a reflection of me, even if he's not paid. So that was quite interesting, is because the lecturer wanted to do it, because I just asked it hypothetically. As you go away and think about that, and she went literally hands up who would do it and who wouldn't, and it probably will say 60-40 at best. It might be 70, and I went, okay, I see the point of view that you're coming from, that's your belief that in order to do work for somebody else, you should be rewarded. On one level, that's true. You are being rewarded because you're gaining experience and gaining from somebody that is literally, well, he flipped the car industry up on his head with Tesla, that he didn't need backing from any of the automobile big companies. I'm going to come in here. This is what I believe. Obviously electric cars depends on which side of the fence you sit with it, but he's a disruptor. So if I was in a position to sit down with him, I would take it with both hands. Like, okay, he is very what's the word I want to use? Articulate person. So when he says something, so say the bit with AI, we need to take it slow. We haven't. We're going full juggernaut here. So if anybody was to like YouTube this, there's things with, what's the thing that's going viral? Chat GPT.
Chat GPT, yeah.
There's loads of videos that are comparing it to Skynet and Terminator.
Absolutely.
Thinking, well, if there's no control or constraint, that possibly could happen. But then it does create fear, does create self-doubt in people. I even had some for a little bit because I was hearing rumblings. Oh, it's going to put people out of the health and fitness space. And when I saw people that I know kind of go, well, that's not true, because that information has been there for donkey's years. I kind of went, well, that's true, because at the end of the day, somebody gets a coach because they want to get from A to B faster. Because they could do it themselves because the information is readily available. And I had a conversation with my father, who is a retired counselor, and we can't have some deep conversations like Stoic wise. He went with obviously all the technology we've got. Is it going to be the end of the libraries? Possibly.
Yeah.
Because, well, you and I both, everybody's got one of these in their
Yes.
pocket. They've got a library in their pocket. So why do I need to go out and rent and almost said rent books, to loan out books from the library?
Mm-hmm.
But what I want people to take away from the conversation today is you need to probably think about that twice, because information is power. If I can literally do with, well, censorship, I can do that very easily with technology. Unless I start doing like the Nazi part in Hitler and start burning books, that's the only way I can do it. So people need to be a little bit more open to the idea of not every book is factually correct. It was at the time of publishing, but you're going to still learn. You're going to still learn. So I've got books that my family had from when they were kids.
Nice.
So I don't know if I've got the geography when the map was all pink. So the British Empire. So I never lived in that era, but it is interesting to see what the landscape was, say, oh gosh, would it be about 60, 70 years ago?
Mm-hmm.
And obviously people's viewpoints would have been massively different on that. But that's because I'm open to, I've almost leaned back into that mindset of the student, of why was it when I went into business I was unwilling to learn? Why did I believe I knew it all?
Yeah.
I don't, because well, unless I'm on a computer, I will never know. I will never know it all. So for me, it's like that fascination to not necessarily pick holes at things, because that's not healthy sometimes. Because if you're just analyzing something for the sake of it,
Yeah.
it can cause more problems than good. But having an openness to okay, I want to improve, for example, sales.
Mm-hmm.
One aspect within sales of okay, how do I challenge objections in a more diplomatic viewpoint, as opposed to you say I can't do it because but that's an excuse, Alan.
Mm.
And that's obviously going to cause confrontation, because it's like, well, no, it's a valid reason. If time is an issue, why is it an issue? And just talk it. It's almost like be a diplomat.
Yes.
And almost what it's what do they call it? It's literally neuro-linguistic programming, but it's a different format of doing it, and a lot of that's going into sales now. So it's very interesting. Instead of the old school,
Mm-hmm.
literally making somebody feel guilty, because I don't like it when it's done to me, but I know what's happening. So
Yeah.
I literally can kind of go, no, we're not going there. Let's talk about the one that's going to be an objection. Let's talk about cost.
Yeah.
That's going to be the make or break for most people. How much is it going to cost me in terms of time, money, and obviously the opportunity costs? What do I need to put from an investment point of view? So I literally skip a step, because it's like, no, you're not going to make me feel bad.
100%.
I'm here on a ledge because I'm not comfortable where I'm at. Whereas maybe I think the consumer is getting to that level. So it's the conversations are very, I won't say difficult, but they are challenging, because ultimately the person is they're getting wiser, because I'm not going to be put into a fear of missing out. No, I'm not going to do that. So scarcity, I don't think it's going to work at some point, because like, well, are you being like, so those ones at the website, if you were to hit refresh, it would literally go back to, it's like, well, that's not genuine. It's like, well, there isn't it doesn't put your mindset into, if I don't sign up now, I'm not going to get at that price, because if you hit refresh, I could take my time. So literally I can take however long I want. But I think that's because people are getting wiser. They're learning of, okay, what tactics are the, but then what I want to do as a coach is I want you to do it for you at the end of the day, not because I'm good at my job, you're good at your job. I want you to do it because you think it's the best thing for you to do right now. If you get to your goal and you don't want to continue, that's completely fine, because we've reached the goal. But you're not doing it for me, you're not doing it for Alan, you're not doing it for your family members. You've looked at it, hard look, and said,
Yeah,
this goal is important for me because of X, Y, Z.
exactly.
And if we can overcome the hurdles where you might have any hiccups or speed bumps along the way, that's our job to do that, to see the red flags, to see, well, not necessarily white, I don't want people with a white flag, but to see that okay, you're going down a slippery slope. Let's have a conversation to kind of, what is it that you're worried about? What is it that you feel that is maybe difficult right now?
Yeah.
Okay, how big of a problem is it? We've talked it over. Maybe not as big as I thought. So a mountain out of a molehill.
100%. Wow, what a phenomenal conversation we've had today, James. I just want to say thank you so much for spending time with me and really showing us how much that we truly are capable of being able to achieve all our goals and giving ourselves credit to go ahead and do that. So if men or anyone who's interested in wanting to participate and get involved with your work, what's the best way for them to do that?
Best way to get involved with me is to get in contact with my website. So it'd be www.jamesowenroberts.com, and I'm sure the link will be in the description, as well as the social media. So if you wanted to reach out on social media, by all means do that as well.
Outstanding. I will make sure that all that information is in the show notes. I just want to say once again, thank you so much. We had an outstanding conversation today. Really appreciated having you on the show.
It's been my absolute pleasure.
Thank you for listening to the Revolutionary Man podcast. Are you ready to own your destiny? To become more the man you are destined to be? Join the brotherhood that is The Awakened Man at theawakenedman.net and start forging a new destiny today.